Getting that vitamin D in. Hell yeah. Let's do some Minuteman stuff. All the people afraid of sugar, you see why I'm so fat. Maybe sugar is just another energy source. All right, Minuteman stuff. Let's talk about professional soldiers versus Minutemen militia guys. Historical context as well as what I think still applies today. So you have a lot of combat veterans like this asshole trying to relate to militia Minuteman stuff, and people can get mad at that, but you know what? The only time I've been shot at was as a professional soldier. I've been in 3 IED blasts on my vehicles, had grenades blow up next to me, shot at dudes and had them shoot back at me. I haven't had the contextual experience of doing that on home turf. Hopefully not anytime soon. So that's the only frame of reference I have. Okay, so fucking deal with it. Unlike some guys, I do like to notice the differences between a militia style force versus a professional force. So you can look at the historical context. American Revolution, that's our favorite reference point. The militia and Minutemen were actually different in a historical context. The Minutemen were more locally funded, supported specific villages. They also trained more. You can look that up, at least according to the history books. The Minutemen mustered, I think, 6 times a month. The militia guys mustered once a month. Big difference there. They were also, the Minutemen were also more integrated into the community because they were from that community. Whereas the militias, mostly the state militias, they were moved around and they would have to come into a community. Somebody would have to establish rapport with them in order to utilize the local resources, because as it turns out, even during conflict, you can't just show up to a village and demand supplies. Eventually somebody bigger, badder, and better armed will take you out. So especially small units, you don't have that military sustainment machine. If there's anything that helped America win wars, it was our logistics. Yes, we've made a lot of mistakes, but if you look at World War I and World War II, they actually measured small successes and victories by tonnage moved. And they compared that to the enemies, at least the enemy's estimate. And we far greatly dominated the logistical thing. Think about Normandy, you know, you put a couple thousand guys on a beach, by the end of the day, over 100,000. Within a day, we have fobs set up shortly off the beach. I've been there. You have major talks, you have supply points, you have airdrops, you have supply ships coming in. It's almost like we move our entire logistical hub with us. Go to modern times, look at Bagram Airfield or BIOP, the biggest base in Iraq. We hated going there because it was flagpole, but they had like Pizza Hut style, they had a Starbucks knockoff. They had freaking Burger King in a war zone. Maybe that's why we lost our focus. But the point is, that's your first major difference between a professional army and militias or Minutemen. You don't have that supply chain. Everything you're going to use, you're going to have smaller numbers and you're going to have a smaller footprint, but everything is going to have to be locally sourced. There is no just sending a Signal app text message or a Telegram message out. Hey, we need 4 crates of friggin' MREs over at this location. Nobody's going to answer you if you're trying to call it up on your radio. Maybe you're a nerd with radios and you can encrypt some really cool shit, but the great majority of the people won't be able to do that. They're going to be on some freaking walkie-talkies and boofwangs and this TRI 152 knockoff. It's tough, but it programs like ass. So you're going to be trying to call up supply drops. You're not going to get them because the people are either not going to answer you, or they're going to say, we don't have that, good luck. Or the enemy's going to hear it, meet you at that drop point and take you out. So we have to think in terms of logistics and sustainment on a community level. Talk about building rapport with the locals, the community you are serving. I actually did a specific video on this. It's going to be linked down in the description, as well as the rest of the Minuteman videos. Go check them out. So going back to the revolution, the Minutemen and militias combined with other just random people grabbing arms, working with indigenous populations. The leftists, they try to 1984 that history because they don't want people to know that most of the tribes we actually got along with and fought with. They supported us, we supported them. it wasn't all just Americans going out there slaughtering them. In fact, it was mostly the federal government doing that. So, interesting. They want more of that government, even though they talk about our history of that same government slaughtering people. Go figure. But building rapport with locals and being sustained by them sounds pretty familiar, right? It's exactly what we did in Afghanistan. Village Stability Operations, VSO. We built local militias in the communities, assisted them as much as we could, but pretty much they were on their own. So going back to the revolution, it was mostly the locals doing the initial fighting. Yes, we had some major victories, but we had a lot of losses. Why? Local militias, Minutemen groups, they are kind of a contingent. We can conduct guerrilla operations on an awesome level. We can do diversion tactics. We can conduct our own psyops. We can influence the population, but we cannot mobilize heavily armored units. We can't call in for artillery. It's probably not going to happen for us dudes. We don't have tanks. We don't have jets. That's all going to be the conventional forces. I know a lot of guys think as soon as shit goes down, they're just going to hop onto the nearest military base and steal some shit. But I know how to drive a Bradley and shoot it. Do you? You know how to fly an F-16 or an Apache? I don't. I mean, good luck learning that while the people who's on the base you just attacked are trying to come take it back. So in that case, what it might turn into is guerrilla operations. You can't take out a drone or avoid it. And you can't avoid the Apaches, but you can sneak onto the base where those operators are, kill them in their sleep, and take out their machinery. So at least you can deter the enemy from using it. Another major difference, professional armies. I used to call it stick up the ass bullshit, okay? Extreme uniform standards, crusty old bored sergeant majors that actually didn't see combat, telling guys they have to be all looking the same, all their gear has to be set up the same. That shit ain't gonna happen in a local militia or Minuteman group. You're gonna have some kind of SOP, okay? Everybody should carry this at a bare minimum. And maybe your medical stuff will be in a spot where everybody knows. I did a video on that as well. The bare minimum that a Minuteman should have on him. So without a professional military, a lot of the stupid shit goes out of the way. But at the same time, if you lose discipline in one area, so stupid uniform standards, hands in your pocket in the Army, things that don't seem to make any sense. As soon as you drop that kind of discipline, you're also going to lose discipline in other areas. I know it's coming off like a sergeant major, but discipline is discipline. And attention to detail is attention to detail. Go look up the militia guys and Minutemen in the Revolution and even before in the other wars. You will read about all kinds of disciplinary problems. One of the first things Washington had to do was bring in von Steuben, who created the Blue Book. The U.S. Army Infantry still references that today. And we had to implement discipline. Because you may think it's cool to just be a drunken pirate and run around and shoot whatever you want. But as it turns out, being drunk on duty when you're pulling guard and there could be 400 fucking well-armed redcoats coming in, that might be stupid. And if you have drunken guerrilla pirates on a target and a pretty lady walks out and they haven't seen one in months, that's bad. So you can lose discipline in the bullshit, but you're definitely going to sacrifice discipline in the other things. Now, I'm not saying professional armies don't have their fair share of violations, but at least they are held to that standard. Now, a Minuteman group, let's say you're an upper level leader and you start to hear about rule of law violations, you know, pillaging, any kind of abuse on the locals, it's actually up to you to fix that. So without the professional army side where you have to go through the judicial system, UCMJ, you can just execute that guy. And I guarantee you there's going to be plenty of those dudes that need to be taken out. Just because you're in conflict doesn't mean you get to act like a total piece of shit. Religious guys know that. You can't let evil in. We have to be the good guys. If you think you're going to show up to a community and do whatever the hell you want, the mainstream media is still going to be around. There's still going to be news. Guess what? Your entire fucking militia group is taken out by psyops. Nobody ever had to fire a shot at you. They just show stories or print newspapers and disseminate those, telling everybody how bad your group is. Well, guess what? The next village you show up to, thinking there's just 300 men, women, and children hanging out doing nothing, they're going to be armed to the teeth and they're going to fuck your group up. So I'm sure there's many others. You guys can add them down below. You guys love to put your input. But thinking about differences between professional and ragtag groups. So we get to eliminate a lot of the stupid shit that makes no sense, cut a lot of the red tape and bureaucratic horse shit, which also means we get to be a little bit rougher. So every military branch says this. In the Army Infantry, we did say, leave no man behind. Even as a grunt in a professional army, I could not stand that. Because yes, you don't want to abandon troops, especially if they're wounded. But what it turned into, so it was a great theory. It was a good feel-good motto thing to say, you know, leave no man behind. I will never leave a fallen comrade. Sounds good, sounds pretty, looks good on paper. Kind of motivates guys to take care of their buddy. What it turns into, however, in garrison or in field training, you always have one or two dickheads in the platoon that should not have made it through basic training. They should definitely not have made it onto a line unit. Line unit being an actual grunt and a grunt platoon, unit, team, squad, who's supposed to do grunt shit. So you've got these D-bags who shouldn't be there in the first place. They're fat or weak. They can't ruck. They can't keep up. You get into contact with the enemy, they freeze up. You're trying to evacuate wounded, and they're fucking sitting in the truck useless. Yes, I've seen that. So I was always pissed because I'm like, well, if we're doing a ruck and we got a fatty who can't keep up, this guy needs to be out of the unit, or we should leave his ass behind to teach him a lesson. So we teach him a valuable lesson in training, and maybe he'll keep up in combat. And so then I get the bullshit, well, we don't leave people behind. We always take care of our battle buddies. And it's like, well, I would think, you know what? There is a fitness standard. There is a shooting standard. We have standards for everything we do. Why the fuck, instead of making us wait on this fatso, who shouldn't be in our team in the first place, why don't we make him step up or get him the hell out of the unit? Or again, leave his ass out in the woods in training. Fuck that guy. So, the ragtag local guys, if you're older or you're bigger and I'm a team leader, you're not coming out with me. And it's nothing personal. You might serve other purposes. The older guys are generally going to be the guys who are going down in town dealing with the local population, coordinating sustainment for us. You're going to be valuable somewhere else. The bigger guys might be tech nerds. They can run the talk, relay messages for us, organize intel. Or they might be a truck driver or something. But if you want to come out on my team and maneuver through the woods, you're going to be fucking fit and you're going to be able to keep up. I know there's always one PT stud on the team, but if you are just dragging ass and holding us up, unlike the professional military, your ass is getting left behind. I will leave that comrade behind. Maybe I'm not going to leave him out there where he's getting shot at and is going to get killed. But I'm leaving his ass at the fob, or if we're conducting some training and he continually falls out and we're all waiting on him, which puts us at risk during that movement because we're now having to conduct extra halts where the enemy could possibly come in and hit us. Your ass is getting left behind, bro. Sorry. I won't leave you if you're wounded, but if you're a fatty or you're lazy, yeah, good luck, dude. This ain't the professional military. There's no diversity hires. You don't get to be in our platoon just because you survived wimpy basic training. You're sitting in the talk or the truck. You're running logistics for us. You're coordinating efforts downtown, but you ain't fucking coming out with me. And I'm getting up there in age. So if I get onto a team where there's some absolute studs and I'm holding them back, I'm fucking stepping back, man. Get my ego in check. Or because I actually am good at go coordinate resources with the population. Shit to think about, grunts. Big differences and big similarities between professional militaries and Minutemen or militias. No matter where you came from, if you're a patriot, you're a true American, we'll have a spot for you on the team. You'll be good to go. But you need to recognize if you show up trying to inject that military bureaucratic horse shit, you're probably not going to do well. Oh, I thought of a bonus. This is probably the best one. Remember that bullshit, respect the rank or respect the position, not the person? We are going to be a meritocracy Minuteman militia group, okay? You better be able to shoot, move, communicate, and kill. You better be able to keep up. You better be fit. You're going to be put in that leadership position because you can perform. That's it. It's not going to be your time in and time and grade, and now you get to boss people around. As soon as you stop performing, you're fucking out, dude. We'll find a place for you. Nothing personal, but we need good dudes on the teams. Very different from the military. How many staff sergeants and master sergeants did we run into who seem to be absolutely useless? Waste of tax dollars, waste of oxygen. Why the fuck are they out there at 4 deployed bases in Iraq and Afghanistan doing nothing? Just eating food, wasting tax dollars, getting pissy at us because our uniforms are dirty, because we're actually out doing shit. But you had to respect them. I told them to fuck off, but guess what? I got in trouble all the time for that shit. Because you had to respect them. No matter how much of a piece of shit they were, you had to respect that position. Well, guys, when shit goes down, if you're on one of these local groups, it's a meritocracy, 100%. You perform, you get a position, you're good to go. You stop performing or you start fucking around, you're out, dude. We'll find another place for you. We're not just going to execute you, but you're not out there shooting and moving. It ain't happening. There's none of that rank bullshit. Another example in Afghanistan, civil affairs guys, I was out with a captain, an E7. I was an E6 at the time. We had a specialist. Rank didn't fucking matter. We went into meetings with local dudes. Sometimes I ran the meeting as a staff sergeant. Sometimes our fucking specialist ran the meetings while me and the captain sat there with our ranks off just because that guy knew more about it. And the reserves, you have actual doctors and surgeons who are specialists. So when you go out to do a med cap and treat people out in these remote villages, the fucking logistics captain doesn't know a fucking thing about medical stuff. But that specialist who's a surgeon or a doctor or a nurse, he's running the med cap and the captain is listening to him. And we take our rank off so those people don't see it and immediately go straight to the highest ranking guy. CA was a little bit outside the box thinking, but try that shit in an infantry or an armor unit. Any of the hardcore HUA units. Try to find a specialist that actually knows more than a captain and put that specialist in charge. That captain will get his feelings so hurt. He will be fucking calling in the Gestapo. He'll be reporting you for not getting your shots, not wearing your masks. Your career is fucking over. Because he's the captain, he's in charge. Or he's the sergeant first class, he's in charge. Period. Doesn't matter if he knows fuck all about what you're doing or not. Ain't happening in the Minuteman groups. Meritocracy. We're going to do this reconnaissance mission. Who has reconnaissance experience? You? You're fucking in charge, dude. Comms are down. Who the fuck knows about comms? Oh, the brand new fucking 18-year-old nerd that knows a hell of a lot more than I do? Man, he's fucking in charge of that. You're in charge, man. You tell me what you need. Again, that shit ain't flying in the professional armies, but it's going to fly with us and it's going to be important. Let me know what you thought, and I'll see you in the next one.